Woof, woof. Big dog. What up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy, and if it looks like my glasses are about to fall off my face, it's because that's the best position I can get them in, so I can even see the damn screen. That means it's time for an eye doctor appointment. And obviously, I can't find my razor, so I look like this. Obviously, this is not what I'm gonna look like if I were to go to a project or on somebody's job site. So don't you either. Look good, look the part. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us on the show. If you've never joined us before, my name is Paul Abernathy. I'm the host of Coffee Hour. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until whenever. It used to be 8 till 9, but it seems like I can't hold schedule. So, it's just one of those things. But thanks for taking the time to join me, get your week started, get your day started. Remember, I live vicariously through you folks. So let me know in the comments, whatever platform you're on, except for TikTok, because TikTok is the behind the scenes, but it's not the live show where you can actually comment. It's still live, but you get to see maybe my equipment or whatnot, that type of thing, if that interests you or not. But thanks for joining me. Today, we are going to be continuing our journey into the different wiring methods. And today, we're going to be talking about power and control cable, type TC. Uh, Very popular cable assembly, often misunderstood, looks very much like an SE cable, has different applications. But at the end of the day, it's very popular. And I actually have a patent on one of the special unique types of tray cable that's actually SER as well. So it's a hybrid cable. So this is a topic I like to talk about, tray cable. And also, there's certain applications that many people think that it looks like SER, that it can be installed like SER. And if you're not familiar with SER, that's service entrance round. That's typically what you would have after your service disconnect to, let's say, a remote distribution panel. So, or you can run it to a piece of equipment that requires 4 conductors, that type of thing. But remember, we're going to be talking about all that type of stuff today. TC cable is the topic, Article 336. All right. Also, I want to remind you, if you're looking for a great program to learn the National Electrical Code, not just for exam prep, but to learn it, then check out fasttracksystem.com. We appreciate all the patronage, everybody that helps support us. It helps support this and the ability to keep doing these programs. So again, it's not public, it's not PBS, but we do, you have to pay for it. But we do appreciate everything you do. Also, don't forget, and we're going to look at it towards the end of the show. I want to give you a navigational look at Fast Tracks 2 because I get a lot of people that say, what are all these freaking features? And I'd like to look at it. Okay, so we're going to do that at the end of the show. So that's Fast Tracks Tube. If you're interested in that, check it out. I think it's the best video. The young developers that developed this, I gave them a wish list. I asked them to add certain features, things that I wanted within our budget, obviously. And I think they nailed it. The fact of the matter is, they added more features than I think I'd ever use. So rather than scale it back, I'm just going to leave them. But we'll look at that later today. If you're interested, if not, I'll let you know when, and you can roll off into the sunset. You don't have to watch it on Fast Track about Fast Tracks Tube if you don't want to. That's fine. You do you, boo. But again, I'll talk about it later. So, hey, folks, let me know who you are, where you're from in the comments, depending on the platform you're on. I will see them, share them on the screen, answer various questions. Again, today we're talking about tray cable, but let's go look and say some shout outs to some folks over on the screen here. Let's see here. Let's start out. And there you are on the screen. What's up, Jonathan? Glad to have you here, my friend. Welcome to the show. David's in the house down in sunny Southwest Florida, putting out those emerging plan review fires. There you go. It's your job, bro. Put them out. There we go. What's up, Adam? Good morning. I am great. I can't complain except for the fact that all of a sudden the vision. Now, I'll tell you, um, being a diabetic, is, and it's my doing. Even though my father had it, mother had it, everybody had it, it's my doing. Okay, I eat crap, and not literally. I'm just saying, I eat junk, and over the years, the diabetes has gotten worse. I had to cut out breads and rolls and tortillas, or to the best I can. Everybody's falls off. I did find, this is not a sales pitch. I did find a new bread that doesn't have all the BS in it, and it's like zero net carbs, which is amazing for a diabetic because even though it will rise the blood sugar, it makes it plateau slower and it's greater. So for me, folks, there's a bread out there called Hero Bread. Okay. And if you're interested in the replays, I'll put something in the comments about it so that you can, there's a link that you can go to and find out about it. If you're a diabetic or you just want a healthier bread, a healthier rolls, they make Hawaiian rolls that literally have 0 or 1 net carb versus like King's Hawaiian rolls, which are 16 grams of this and so much sugar and it causes blood sugar. And you know what's in it, not this stuff you can't pronounce. I stumbled on it. It's not a sales pitch. I don't get a commission for that type of thing. But what I'm saying is, I can now eat bread again. And I did it and tried it yesterday, and it did not cause my blood sugar to spike. It went up because it's still calories in, but it was smooth and it dropped off almost immediately. And that means that I can at least enjoy some of the nicer things. Is it more expensive? Hell yeah, it is. It's expensive bread. But if it means that I can enjoy things like bread, like sandwiches, okay, like crescent rolls, like tortillas, then that's the way to go. Okay. Anyway, it's called Hero Bread. You can Google it online, you'll find it. Okay. So let's kind of get on with our folks here. Let's see, Adam. Again, thank you, Adam. Glad to have you here. Michael, welcome. Glad to have you in the house, my friend. Welcome, Michael. Let's see who else we got here. Santana's in the house. Good morning, Santana. Glad to have you here. Samantha is in the house. Throwing up that hashtag win early. There you go. Getting in on the drawing. We have the second CMECP. David was in the house. There we got Jason's in the house. They got the memo. There you go. Let's see here. What's up, Manny? Glad to have you in the house. Manny, good morning. Glad to have you here. Steven's in the house. Good morning, Steven. Glad to have you here. Tara, Joe Wheeler Lake in the house. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. We got Manny. We got Paul. Paul, welcome. Our sign guy / electrical guy down there in Houston. Welcome. What does it say? He said, also meant to include professionally and efficiently putting out permit fires as they become evident. Absolutely. Absolutely. What's up, Ski Addle, Skididdly Doo? Welcome. Glad to have you here. Rob Melting Toast is in the house. Good morning. Glad we could be here to share some knowledge. You wake up one morning and I'm not here, and then you're like, what happened? Where'd Paul go? Good morning, Peter. Glad to have you here. Thomas is here. Thomas says, good morning, all. Believe it or not, we use a lot of TC cable in hazardous locations at our fuel farms. Yes, absolutely. You can get TC, ER, HL, and use it in those locations. Let's see, Michael. High octane black coffee this morning. Not me. I got to put so much crap in my coffee. I try to be a little healthy. I use Splenda, which we'll all find out eventually. Splenda is what'll kill us all. And then I put in some half and half. So it might spike my blood sugar, but not so bad. What's up, David? Glad to have you here, David. Oh, by the way, I'll give a couple announcements as well here in a little bit, in a minute. What's up, Kendra? Glad to see you back again. And then Leo, glad to have you here. Welcome to the show. Okay, so let me say a couple things real quick as far as just not announcements. You might have noticed that we stopped doing, and David's like, I told you so. But no, we stopped doing the 5 o'clock replays, at least for now. One, because we're promoting Fast Trax Tube more, and we're slowly moving all the videos over to Fast Trax Tube. So it didn't make sense to, if you can't join the live, then we want it to be able to watch the videos later. Then you need to go over and watch them on Fast Trax Tube. Now, we haven't finished the final phase. The first phase was to get rid of the replays. We haven't now turned them off on all of our social platforms for the Whereas we do this live and then it shows on all these other platforms and then it stays there. We haven't gone through the effort. That's going to be a manual thing. I'm not going to dump that on Jeff. And I don't want to run around and have to delete them from Facebooks and everywhere else. So, first step was to remove the replay, and they are going to be slowly added over to uh, Fast Trax Tube, and that way you can go there, and they'll be in their own special category, so you can just flip through. They're not necessarily going to be ordered by date because it really doesn't matter. It's topic driven, right? So they'll be over there. I'll show you that later. But you still are going to be able to watch them on other social platforms if you want to watch them. Okay, that's okay too, until they're removed, right? The one benefit is when we do when we put them over on the Fast Trax Tube, it will remove all of the intro stuff where we're doing the shout outs and all that kind of stuff. It will remove all that part of it. Okay, that way it cuts it down a little bit, and it will remove spinning the wheel at the end. It removes all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So let's get into today's topic, talking power and control cables. Don't have any fancy graphics for you today. We're going to be purely using Link, and I'm going to give you my experience. So I'm going to have to paint a visual picture mentally for you as we talk about the various products. Now, I could go and show you a sample of tray cable, but the easiest way I can tell you, a tray cable is typically looks just like SER. It's typically a bit more rounded. Doesn't have to be. The standard for that says that it is to be more round like or roundish. And the UL standard is 1277. And the only time that we have to worry about perfect roundness, to be honest with you, is if we're going to be doing a hazardous location application or something that we're going to, maybe a class 1 division 2, because that's all we make it for, or a class 2 division 2. Then we want that roundness so it works well with the ceiling fittings, connectors that go into the boxes and things like that, so that we don't have any gases that can transmit or propagate. So the rounder, obviously, the better. Now, some of the manufacturers say they make fittings that can accommodate a bit of a non-rounded or a bit of a diamond shaped, or not dramatic, but their fittings can compensate for that. The big goal for most manufacturers that make a tray cable that is a standard tray cable is we pretty much use the same machines that make SER. Okay. And we'll talk about that construction so you know the significant differences and how they're to be used. But when we know, we make an effort to add more filler, which is filler space to fill up the voids inside of the cable that's between the conductors and the outer sheathing, in order to make it as round as possible, so that if somebody chooses to use it in like a class 1 division 2 or class 2 division 2 location, then what happens is that it will fit with the fittings better, that type of thing. So we try to make an effort for that, but be aware that you can get some power control cable that may not be perfectly round. And somebody says, well, that's a violation of the listing. No, it's roundish. Didn't say it has to be perfectly round. It's round-ish. And as manufacturers, we play on that a lot. Okay. All right. So let's go on and look at the NEC. Actually, you know what? We could actually do lesson today because I've got it up on the screen as lesson. And if you have any questions, please, by all means, feel free to ask, that type of thing. What's up, Red Dog?
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
Says good morning. It says, I was recently promoted to foreman supervisor, looking for advice on when working with stubborn old gentlemen who have more years in the trade but lack code knowledge and listing. Absolutely, Red Dog. I actually have a podcast that's scheduled to come out on talking with that and dealing, because there's other people I know that are very close to me, friends of mine, that also have been promoted. And the reason you've been promoted, Red Dog, is because you took your game to the next level. You joined these things. You learned the code. So you're not just a guy that can turn a wrench. You're learning the mental part too, and employers want that. And that's the kind of people that get promoted. So when I hear people all the time say, I don't need to know code, that means you're just going to be a wrench jockey for the rest of your life. You're never going to expand your knowledge and move up. You have to embrace code. You have to embrace that there's more than just going out there and twisting wire nuts. I'm just saying. And you're doing that. And that's why you're moving up. but there is a way that you can deal with those older gentlemen. And it's going to be tough. So some people are hard and stubborn in their ways. John, friends of mine have the same aspect of that, where they have a lot of knowledge, and the older guys think they have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of field. They've learned little things, tips and tricks, but they're not good with the code. And they do think they've been doing things because they've been pressured for years to just make it work. Somebody above them has said, just make it work. So you have to make sure that we bust that mentality. And, as you move up into a foreman supervisor role, you're going to be able to be the one that realizes, are these older guys the way they are because of management pushing it and saying, look, I get it, just get it done. And so they've been pressured to make things work, or is there really a learning thing here? And so in that podcast, I actually going to talk about when the supervisors have to communicate with the owners or the lead management and understand, what is our mission? Okay. Do we want it done right? Do we want it done fast? Again, you can't have it done fast and cheap and still be good. Okay. There is a balance. And we'll talk about that in a podcast. By the way, that's a shameless plug for our podcast, Master the NEC podcast, as well as Let's Ask Paul podcasts, which you can get from our mobile app or anywhere else. You can get them all. You can listen on all your favorite platforms. But we have a couple of those dropping here in the next day or so. So you're going to make sure you check those out. I don't know if that episode's dropping, Red Dog, Carlos, but it is coming. So be aware of that. We will talk about that topic and give advice. Okay. All right. Anywho, let's see. Yeah, congratulations, Red Dog. It is always amazing. So there you go. Give some shout out, some love. Give some love, everybody. Red Dog moving up because he's a mover and a shaker. Let's go. All right, so we're going to be talking about Article 336, power and control cables, type TC. The one thing we always do, remember this is in multiple parts, 3 parts. You've got your general, you got your installation, and then, of course, you have your construction, okay? And again, ask questions because, again, you can't use tray cable everywhere, right? And in some uses of tray cable, it may seem like it's unnecessary. Why would I do this? Because you're putting like a wiring method in another wiring method. But that's just how the code is, okay? So we'll talk about all that. Now, the scope. We always have to understand what the scope is. This article covers the use, installation, and construction specifications for power and control cable called type TC cable. Again, UL 1277, as I said earlier. And I can probably tell you just about everything you want to know about tray cables. So if you have asked questions, please feel free to ask. If I don't know, I will find it for you, as always. All right, listing. Obviously, as a manufacturer, we produce TC cable. Encore Wire and Prismium produce a wide variety of tray cables. Okay. And so there is a tray cable for every typical application, whether it's hazardous locations, class 1 division 2, class 2 division 2, or there is a need or a use. We create the hybrid cable, for example, that is not only TC cable, but it's also SER cable. So it matches both of them. Nobody else makes that. But the point is, there's a lot of manufacturers that make tray cable. They all have to be listed. Okay. Yeah, all have to be evaluated by a third party. So a lot of people get that confused too. What does that mean when it says that, when evaluation? So with all wiring methods, including tray cable, a manufacturer is first on an honor system. We make the product and we make it in accordance with the UL 1277 standard, which is going to tell us the conductors we can use in it. It's going to tell us the sheathing thicknesses, going to tell us how to cable it, going to tell us everything we need. Going to tell us the minimum size as far as the standard equipment grounded conductor in it, irrelevant to the NEC. Irrelevant to the NEC. We, as a manufacturer, we have to build it to the UL ANSI standard. Okay. So we make it. Our engineers, our design folks, we design it, we engineer it. We have these multi-million-dollar machines that make it. And after it's made, it has to be, in order to get that listing, it has to be evaluated by a third party. Now, some of the big confusion out there with wiring methods as well, like in TC cable, is that you have to use UL. As much as they're going to hate me saying this, you do not have to use UL for that third party. I can use ETL. I can use FM. I can use CSA. There's many different ones that are listed in OSHA that say which are the approved NRTLs. NRTL is Nationally Recognized Testing Laboratory. The problem is you have to make sure that the third party or the NRTL actually does evaluations for that listing. Not all of them do. ETL, Intertech, pretty much does most of the same stuff that UL does. So you have a choice out there. Most of us go with UL. It's the big name. Everybody thinks that UL is the only one, but it's not. And that's a misconception. Now, the initial standard that we have to make it to is called an ANSI UL standard. But once it's done, then it has to be evaluated by the third party, and you have your choice. Okay. So for inspectors out there who may see ETL on something or Intertech or whatever and say, well, that's not a UL mark, I'm not accepting it. That is wrong. Okay. As long as it is an approved third party NRTL by OSHA, then it's okay for them. Now, some come and go. So you got to be careful. You got some old wiring out there that comes and go. But I can promise you, if you find some old wire somewhere and it's got an old mark and they're no longer an NRTL, you can still use it because it was compliant at the time that it got marked. You can still use it. Just because they've lost their mark or chose not to renew it doesn't make the fact that that wire that was sitting there, that was already produced, it was already evaluated, that you can't use it. Okay. Just saying. But again, you'll see manufacturers that'll put out different, get their listings from different third parties. It's okay. Okay, inspectors out there, it's all right. Intertech is fine. ETL, fine. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the lesson. All right. So that's your listing. Now, that's very quick, right? It's part one is just like 2 tray cable. So now we come to part 3. This is the meat and potatoes. This is the installation part. Use is permitted. Where can you use TC cable? And I'll tell you, I am a big fan of tray cable. I tried to get things changed so that you could use tray cable anywhere that you could use SER. And people say, well, why would you do that? We have SER. Because typically tray cable has a thicker sheathing. Okay. And because of that thicker sheathing, it's less prone to damage during the install. So if you have a rougher install, then you want to use this TC cable or rougher install. But the problem with it is the standard or the code does not allow you to run tray cable like an SER, even though it has the exact same inners. Okay. The sheathing is twice as thick as SER. Typically, SER is 30 mils. The most of your tray cable is going to be 60 mils thick. Okay, bigger it gets thicker, but 60 mils. So it's twice the thickness. Same conductors inside. The only difference between SER and except for it's a different UL standard 854. The only main difference is for SER, it puts a fiberglass wrap we call a binder around the internal conductors. Right? Doesn't change its rating. It's just a binder. And then you extrude over it. And that's where you get your PVC extrusion over it. Typically gray, but it could be other colors. Nothing says it has to be gray. The biggest difference, again, is the fact that it has that binder in there that is the fiberglass. It doesn't add any temperature rating. The only thing it's there for is to hold all the conductors together. That's the main issue with it when you're doing it. You don't have that requirement for tray cable. Tray cable doesn't need a binder unless it's necessary to keep a roundness and maybe to put in fillers and things like that. Then you'd have that that binder that would hold it all into place. A lot of times also for something like an SEU, which is the other type of SE cable, it looks like a U. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming episode as well. We'll be looking at the SEU and SER. And it may be tomorrow's topic. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, as the PVC deteriorates, the binder would still hold it in place, keep it resilient, that type of thing. All right. So, I mean, there's different things to remember about all this, but at the end of the day, they look pretty much the same. But tray cable has a thicker sheathing, same inners. Remove the binder because it's really irrelevant in the use application. Why can't I run tray cable everywhere that I can run SER cable in a building? Why can't I just run it and strap it by itself, which you can't do with tray cable? But, and I learned years ago it was less about, and the reason I came up with the hybrid TC SER was because I was sitting in a meeting with our competitors for NEMA, and we were all in the room, and we were trying to discuss, you know what, let's offer more use for this tray cable so electricians can have more options. And I met strong opposition from other manufacturers that don't make tray cable, and they felt that it would impinge on their MC cable. To me, that's a violation of what we're here for, right? Because you're protecting your interest. But it happened. And so I got ticked off, by the way. And the whole thing, I got ticked off about it because I think that tray cable has uses where it can expand. It's much more robust. Yes, it'll compete with the SER, but it's a choice. You want more robust, you go with the TC. So anyway, that's when I came up with the hybrid. And it wasn't because to be novel, it was because I was pissed off at my competitors. And I said, how do I come up with a way to circumvent them and get around the limitations with tray cable? And that's what I came up with, a hybrid cable. And it is listed product and it's available. So it can go above grade, run it like SER, and then the moment it goes outside, runs down the side of a building like SER, and then it hits the ground, and now it becomes tray cable. I think it's incredible. I do not know why Prismium and Encore Wire do not push it more, because I think electricians would eat it up, because it makes for a great transition from in one building to another building without having to do a transition. But again, I am not in that position to make those decisions. But that's the story behind it. Okay, so use is permitted. Where can I use TC cable? Okay, so it shall be permitted in the following locations. It can be for power, lighting, control, and signal. And obviously, we make tray cable that's designed for power. We have those that are designed to have power and control inside, or a signaling inside of it. Those type of things. You see this a lot of times with a tray cable that is specifically made for a generator application, where it may be tray cable, and we have some allowances to be able to do this. And you're going to see this in a shortly. If it's made of a certain construction, in other words, it's got power conductors and it's got control and signal. I think that's a stupid rule, but anyway, that's the way it is. If it's got both power and control in it, then we have some limited applications that we can use it in a dwelling. Other than that, you can't run tray cable anywhere you want unless you do some other things. And we're going to look at all that. But can I use it for power? Well, that would be a no-brainer, right? And then it says lighting, absolutely, and control and signal. And some of the smaller tray cable is used a lot in lighting applications and in control and signaling. So again, it's not just larger conductors, or not just trying to get 600 volts, 1,000 volts. You know, it can also be used for signaling control. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. Also, tray cable in cable trays should be a no-brainer. Tray cable can go in cable trays, right? Including those with mechanical discontinuous segments up to 1 foot. So what does that mean? So it still can go into a cable tray. It's robust enough to be able to traverse over non-continuous tray segments. Now, I'm not talking about cable trays today. One thing that people don't know, or the reason they say, well, Paul, why aren't you doing an episode already on cable trays? Because cable trays are a support system, right? They're not a wiring method. They're a support system. They support cables. So I'm segmenting it out, and that's a whole separate topic when we're talking about cable trays, because it can handle a whole bunch of different types of cables, but it is more a support system rather than a wiring method in a way that we're discussing it here on the show. So that's a reason. So somebody asked that. But in a cable tray like this, that's mechanically discontinuous segments, you still have things you have to follow, connecting these segments together or bonding these segments together if they're metallic. But all this is saying is I can run a tray cable inside of one of these cable trays, and maybe it's not a continuous, maybe it has up to a 1 foot gap between the segments. Okay. Ignoring the other requirements for bonding. We're not talking about the tray, just the cable. Then it is okay to traverse that gap. Okay. That's what we're saying. But in general, it can go in cable trays. Okay, but it can traverse those separate segmentation type of trays. In raceways, all right, yes, I can put cable tray in a raceway. And you might say, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose? Not if you want to run TC cable inside of a building, even though you know the inners are exactly the same as what you would run if you pulled individual conductors in the raceway. It's still going to be THHN, THWN-2 inners or XHHW-2 inners. It's still going to be the same inners. It's just the way it's written. And again, this is also manufacturers pushing back and saying this is for industrial or heavy commercial applications. And I'm like, no, it's damn SER on steroids. It should not be limited, but it is. So here you go. You can put it in raceways. So that would be running it in a raceway. Remember, if you run it in a raceway, then you have raceway fill if it's a continuous run from box to box. Okay, you still have to follow Chapter 9, Table 1. You got to follow the fill rules. Since it's a cable, it would be 53%. So you want to look at Note 9 of Chapter 9, Table 1. These are little things to make mental notes of. Okay, all right, so there you go. Next is outdoor locations supported by a messenger. So 390, you got, I can't remember, it's 398 or whatnot, or 399, no, 398 messengers. So you can hang it on a messenger, which is a support structure from building to building. And you can have this, tray cables supported. Still have to meet your supporting and securing. You still have to, some companies make it already with a supporting strap built into it, right? But this is saying, you know what? If I want to run tray cable on a messenger from point A to point B, that's perfectly fine if you want to do that. And it might be a great alternative than to run single insulated conductors that are going to be exposed, right? Or something like that. This may, or rather than a PVC jacketed MC with the added weight, this might be a better option if you need to get something from one building to another, point A to point B, then the code allows you to run it. Now you got to follow all the rules for messenger as well, but this may be a good alternative for you to run it. Here you go. Class 1 circuits as permitted in Part 2 and 3 of Article 725. Okay. So we have Class 1 applications. So in there, you ought to be able to do that. And again, Class 1 is typically just like normal power circuits. I'm not sure if this is a mistake. Hold on. I'm going to look. Yes, this is a mistake in the code. We found a mistake in the code. I think because this is Class 2 and Class 3, right? Because I'm going to say that because it didn't get corrected. It probably will get corrected because I'm going to say that here is Class 1 power circuits. Here, 724. Okay, and it might not be. Hold on here. So that might not be a thing. It still may be accurate. I'm just trying to look and see since we're here. This 720 covers power limited. Just want to see. Yeah. So yeah. So there's been some jostling around in some of these. So yeah. So I don't know that is an accurate reference anymore because I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that any of these. Most of these all are. Yeah, it should have been I believe 724 where it should have been. That's all right. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to our discussion. But anyway, there's the reference. All right. So Class 1 circuits act very much just like power, if you will. Have a great day, Tom. Good luck. Enjoy your day. Right. So, all right. So next is number 6. This is for you can use tray cable or non-power limited fire alarm circuits if conductors comply with the requirements of 760.49. So there is an application where I can use tray cable for a non-power limited. Okay. And so application, as long as I follow the rules of 760.49, I can use tray cable for that application. Now, 7 says between a cable tray and the utilization equipment or devices provided all the following. So this is where you would come out of the tray or out of a cable tray and then transverse over and go down to a piece of equipment. So this is the ability for the cable to actually leave. Okay. We might do that, Dan, on another episode. Well, we leave the tray and then go down to a piece of equipment, okay, or to a device, okay. All right, so here it says first, in order to be able to do that, right, the cable has to be type TCER, okay. right? So exposed run, some people say extended run, really doesn't matter. We know the purpose. It means that it has to go through an additional evaluation in order to be able to traverse from some type of tray or cable tray, whether it's a ladder, solid bottom, whatever it is, over and get down to a piece of equipment. Okay, so it's got to be TCER. And in smaller conductors, a TCER is going to be, whether it gets a listing of TCER depends on the size of the conductors and whether or not an equipment grounding conductor is provided. Some of the smaller conductors that may be used for other applications may not get the moniker ER, but most of the products are going to have equipment grounding conductor in there. Most all of them you're going to see is a TCER for normal circuit applications. Okay. If you find one that's just type TC that it's not ER, and they do make them, it cannot go out of the tray. Okay, that type of thing. Or it could be in a raceway, or it could be on a messenger, yada yada yada. But in order to go between a cable tray to a piece of equipment, like leave the tray, come out of the tray and go down, because you might have a tray that all these cables are running in, and then you got a piece of equipment here. And you're like, oops, stop right here. This circuit goes to this piece of equipment. It's got to get out of the tray down to it. All right, well, that's fine as long as it's one, TCER. Okay. Two, the cables installed in industrial establishments. That's a key also to remember. This allowance to leave that tray, it has to be an industrial establishment. And we'll see that a lot, for example, when we go look at 392 at some point, and we see, can you have single insulated conductors in a cable tray like THHN, XHHW-2, all that kind of stuff? Yes, you can, but only in an industrial establishment, not anywhere else that you just want to put conductors in it. It's got to be an industrial establishment. Well, here it's saying, you know what? You can leave the tray. Doesn't say that you can't put a cable tray in any environment. You can put cable trays in residence if you want. The problem here, it says, look, if you're putting a tray cable in a cable tray and you want to leave that cable tray, it's got to be ER. But it also has to be, all of this has to take place in what's called an industrial establishment. That is not a defined term. That is typically going to be up to people like David, who's going to look at reviews and say that this is an industrial establishment. The design professional will say it's an industrial establishment. A Walmart is not an industrial establishment. Okay. It doesn't mean I can't have the cable tray in a Walmart with a tray cable in it. This is talking about leaving the tray and going to a piece of equipment. Then it has to be industrial establishment. In other words, it needs to stay in the tray. Okay. Now it says the cable is installed in industrial establishments. Again, you electrician not going to make that decision. It needs to be made. The decision needs to be made by the AHJ, the design professional, or whoever. And you'll bring this up if you have an application where you have to leave the tray. You'll say, okay, does this qualify as an industrial establishment? And if it does, then you leave the tray. It says, and where the conditions of maintenance and supervision ensure that only qualified persons service the installation. So that typically means in order to do this, it also has to be an industrial establishment, which also has a staff that monitor, that repair things, that do routine maintenance. This is not a place where it doesn't have any of that, and it just calls in somebody to come in and just fix something when something breaks down. That does not qualify that as maintenance and supervision. Okay? That is a continuous thing where you have a staff on site, people that will do maintenance and supervision, that type of thing. A gray line that you have to work with somebody to determine that's what they have. Now, if there's a normal maintenance schedule, maybe they're a third party, but they come in on a regular basis and they're not just there to fix issues, but they're there to do maintenance, all that kind of, then maybe you can get it to qualify. But again, all those type of things. Okay. Qualified persons. That means that I do not want somebody working on tray cables in a cable tray that aren't familiar with tray cables in a cable tray. That's a qualified person. Okay? Just because I have a master's license and you go out and you want to do a PV installation, because your license allows you to do it, does not make you a qualified person. You have to have some knowledge, take some training, do something to make you a qualified person. You just don't become a qualified person because you hold a license. Okay, that's an important thing to remember. Knowledge is what increases your qualification. So you have to seek that knowledge, take a little training, take a course, supervise with somebody, learn from them, gain that knowledge, then you become qualified. And you can agree to disagree. That's my position, and I will maintain it. Now, C, it says the cable is continuously supported and protected against physical damage using mechanical protections such as struts, angles, or channels. Okay. So this is a situation where once the cable comes out, it needs to be continuously supported all the way down to wherever it's terminating. Okay. So the cable is continuously supported and protected. If it's in a location that's subject to physical damage, again, no defined term. Code doesn't say what physical damage is. You have to make that decision. I can tell you right now, if it's above a piece of equipment, it's coming down, it's in the free, it's kind of in the air, nothing's going to damage it. It's fine. Okay. But people say, well, it's sitting out there. If a wheel axe murderer comes in and starts wheeling his axe, it could be damaged. Come on, people. Common sense. Let's go. Next, it says the cable complies with the crush and impact requirements of MC cable. So it still has to be evaluated and it's still got to follow the same crush and impact of an armored type of cable. MC, metal clad, whether it's steel or aluminum, they both have the same crush and impact. So it's got to meet all that as well. So think about that. That's a non-metallic product with a thicker sheathing that has to meet the same crush and impact of an equivalent sized MC cable that has an armor. It still has to meet the same. Right? So that's important. So we know that this TCER, now, obviously, y'all know MC cable is not something that is for subject to physical damage either. Okay. But neither is this. But it's already telling you it doesn't matter. I still need to have a crush and impact test. Okay. And it has to be marked with TCER on it. So, okay. It says the cable is secured at intervals not exceeding 6 feet. So you're securing this cable at intervals not exceeding 6 feet. Again, this is for this requirement, okay? To be able to go from the tray to equipment. Has to be secured at intervals not exceeding 6 feet, okay? It's got to be continually supported, right? As it leaves the tray, okay? Now, this one, it says equipment grounding. Here you go. It says equipment grounding for the utilization equipment, that is whatever it's being supplied, okay? The equipment that's being supplied, is provided by an equipment grounding conductor within the cable. Okay. Important aspect of it because they do make TC cables that don't have equipment grounds. They're for different applications, instrumentation cable, all those type of things that are still considered tray cables may not have an equipment ground. In this case, it says, look, equipment grounding for the utilization equipment is provided by an equipment grounding conductor within the cable. The cable containing conductor sizes 6 or smaller, the equipment grounding conductor shall be provided within the cable or at the time of installation. One or more insulated conductors shall be permanently identified as an equipment grounding conductor in accordance with 250.119C. Okay, so we need it. Now, there is an exception here, and this exception is the exception to this rule right here. The main thing it's going to be targeting is the continually supported, the securement requirement and that type of thing. So let's read the exception. It's a very important exception and utilized all the time. All right, very important. If you're a somebody that's and hold on for a second and make sure I'm not cutting anything off. No, I'm not. Okay, good deal. All right, I just make sure I wasn't cutting anything off. It says, look, we're not subject to physical damage. Okay, that's a good start. It says the TCER shall be permitted to transition between cable tray and between cable tray, okay, cable tray to cable tray, okay, and equipment or devices, okay, so I can go from the tray to a device or to equipment, okay, I love it so far, for a distance not exceeding 6 feet without that continuous support. So look, up here, it says it has to be continuously supported. That means when you leave that tray all the way down to the equipment, that means I'd have to run that strut, that angle iron, that whatever, in order to secure it to it every 6 feet, right? And it has to be, that support mechanism has to be continuous. But engineers love to use this. If you're just popping off to a piece of equipment, it says, okay, that's fine. As long as it's what? Doesn't exceed 6 feet and it's supplying equipment, devices, that type of thing, okay? Now it says the cable shall be mechanically supported where exiting the cable tray to ensure that the minimum bending radius is not exceeded. Okay, so as it's leaving the tray, you're going to support it as it leaves the tray. Okay? That way it can't be bit. It's basically guiding it to the point where it leaves it, and usually it's just going to drop straight to whatever piece of equipment that you're needing. But this exception is extremely important because this exception is saying, you know what, you have to continually support it. But you know what? I'll let you go up to 6 feet as long as you're leaving that tray. It's TCER, so it has that extra rating. It met that crushing impact. So got a little bit more, a little something, something. And it's between the tray and it's going to equipment or it's going to a device. Okay. It's not talking about, okay, trays. Hold on here. It says, let me highlight the most important part. That way it's easy. And I can't zoom in, but this is the most important part of this whole thing right here. I don't know if you can see it in the colors. It says TC shall be permitted to transition between cable trays and between cable trays and equipment or devices for a distance not exceeding 6 feet without continuous support. So the general rule is have to have the support. If the exception applies, I'm going to allow you to go up to 6 feet. Okay. But it has to be TCER. Remember, they do make TC that is not ER. Okay. Just be careful. All right. Number 8, type TC cables shall be resistant to moisture and corrosive agents or installed in wet locations. It usually is. And this is another thing that I've tried to teach people through the years, other educators, people on code panels. TCER typically has a PVC extrusion. It's very resistant to chemicals and corrosive effects. It's extruded, so it's an impervious coating. It doesn't necessarily have to be thermoplastic. We've also done it in thermoset, like a thermosetting cross-linking product. It just depends on the customer and the application and what you're trying to achieve. But the reality is, it is very moisture resistant and it is very corrosive resistant in its own nature of the construction of the product. Now, that doesn't mean that it is that way for every chemical in the world. Okay, so if you're running something like this in a location and you have some engineer or somebody says this is very highly corrosive, then reach out to the manufacturer of the chemical and see if it's detrimental to a certain type of material. You can call the manufacturer wire and cable, but typically manufacturers of wire and cable don't test their products to all those corrosive effects. We just don't have the ability to do that in our labs. We don't know what all corrosive chemicals, we just don't know it. So we're usually going to push back into you and somebody else got to make that decision. But typical applications where you're going to run tray cable, you're not going to run into those. Now, outdoors, wet location is a corrosive condition. In underground, corrosive condition. Can it be run underground? We're going to see it in a minute. Absolutely, if it's marked as such or identified as such. But just remind you that it has to have this type of covering. It already does, especially if you're going to use it in a corrosive environment. It's either a marked DB or it's going to have some other marking on it, but that type of thing. But PVC, which is a thermoplastic, and a thermal setting, a cross-linked polyethylene type of sheathing, very resistant to chemicals and moisture. Okay, in case you didn't know. All right, so there you go. And this is pretty much, I'll be honest with you, this is going to be taken care of by the manufacturers unless you're going to be installing it in some weird ass location where there's going to be using some specialized chemicals in some lab or something like that. Then it may need to do a little more research on it. But I can tell you, tray cable is very robust. All right, number 9. Now, this is the one that I have been working on for quite a few years. Cannot get code panels to budge. They don't, some of them just don't. Code panel 6, I know why they're not, why they didn't expand this, because it hurts their market share. Look, I said it. Take me to jail. They don't, let me show you why. So this is when you can use tray cable outside of a raceway, not on a messenger, not direct bear, when you just want to use it like an SER. And without getting the hybrid like I have, if you just want to use it and run it and strap it, and here's the application. For 1 and 2 family dwelling units, okay? So your single family dwelling, okay, or your duplex, 2 family dwellings, it says type TCERJP, and I'll explain this JP in a minute. Containing conductors for both. Now, here's where I got a problem. It says for both power and control circuits shall be permitted for branch circuits and feeders. So this is typically with the tray cable that you see used for like generator applications where it has the control and the power in the same cable, makes it nice and neat and tidy installation. The problem with this is, why the hell does it have to have the control circuits in there? If you know, why can't I run power conductors in a 1 and 2 family? Because again, it is basically more robust than an SER, and it's the same conductors inside of it. They put this word, because it has the word both right here, basically limits the application for this tray cable, which in a building, you may have a neat need to go from inside to outside, and you would love the convenience of using a tray cable, right? To be able to do that. It's readily available. It's flexible for the most part, but you can't. You can't unless it's got both power conductors, okay? Your 600 volt conductors, you know that, and it has to have the signal conductors in order to be able to use it in a 1 and 2 family dwelling. Stupidest crap I've ever heard in my life. It's stupid. All right, enough of that. It says type TCER-JP cable used on the interior wiring shall be installed per the requirements of Part 2 of Article 334. So you install it like a non-metallic sheath cable. Easy peasy. Okay, where it's used on the exterior of a building, you're going to use Part 2 of Article 340. Easy peasy. That's UFB. Okay, that type of thing. Now, let me talk about this JP. First of all, JP means joist pull. Okay, for those that don't know what that means. Your typical, for example, in Encore wire and Prismium, most of all of our tray cables, we're going to put that JP mark on it, even though it's not necessary. The only place in the National Electrical Code where that JP mark is necessary is right here. Right here. That's it. So that is because SER has to go through a joist pull test. NM cable, non-metallic sheet cable, has to go through a joist pull. So you pull it through a number of joists at certain angles, and it shows that it doesn't destroy the jacket. It's got to be designed to be able to pull through it. The reason that the JP is here is because you're using this product as a typical non-metallic, or you're using it like an SER, or using it like an NM cable, that type of thing. So it has to pass the joist pull test, right? To be able to, or have that marking to use it in this application. Again, only for power and control and together. We put JP on all of our power cables too, the tray cable that are power only, just, you know, black, red, blue, whatever. We don't have to do that. And it's irrelevant to the listing. We put it on there because we know it will pass the joist pull. But the only place that matters when it comes to tray cable is right here. Any other time, those cables like SC cable, non-metallic cable, they already have to, hold on for a second, folks. I need to keep TikTok alive. In other applications, you don't have to put JP on it because it's part of the listing. It's inherent to the listing. We have to test it anyway, so there's no reason to put the markings on anything. You get me? But when it comes to tray cable, if you're going to use it in this application inside a 1 and 2 family dwelling, and it has both power and control, which limits its use, by the way, then you have this situation where it's got to have that JP on it. We just mark all of ours, even though it's on power only cables, we still put the JP on it. Why? Because I've been trying for years to get this changed. So the thought was, here's a little secret. The reason that we put it on there, JP on everything, is because years ago, I thought that I could get the code panel to see my ways. I submitted public inputs. I explained to them it's exactly the damn same, yada, yada, yada. And they just know we have certain people, the same people who don't want to see it expanded happens to sit on those code panels, and they did not want to expand it. And most of them since retired, so I really haven't tried again to do this. But at the end of the day, what does it matter whether it's power control? Why can't I run tray cable through a building and structure and secure it just like I would an SER? Why? Give me some rationale. Send it to me. Go to paulabernathy.com and send me a comment if you are smarter than me. I don't know why. It works the same. And I know the truth because I made the hybrid cable, and all we did on the hybrid cable is took a tray cable, put the fiberglass around it, and then double the insulation. So all we do is take an SER and just increase the thickness of the sheathing. That's all we do. And it passes the tests. It passed both 1277 and 854. So I know I know the truth. Okay. Anyway, maybe in the future, who knows? All right. So again, will it compete with other products? Yes, but again, it gives you more options as an electrician, and I'm all about giving electricians options. The exception here says we're used to connect a generator and associated equipment having terminal rated 75 degrees C or higher. The cable shall not be limited to ampacity by 334.80 and 340.80. Okay, so basically, it's saying, look, you're not limited. So long story short, it says you're not limited to the 60-degree column like you would in a not for NM cable, that type of thing, right? So that's basically what it's saying, or UF cable. That's all this is saying. It says, hey, if you're doing it for these applications in generator and you have terminals that are rated 75, you know what? You're not going to be limited by that 60-degree stuff. You know, that's all it's saying. Let's see here. Let's see. 10. All right, here you go. 10. Direct buried were identified for use. So again, the beautiful thing about tray cable is you can have a direct burial. You can drop it right in the earth. That type of thing. Yes, Michael, unfortunately, a lot of times there are companies. I am so blessed that Encore Wire is never. Look, I'm not just saying this, guys. Let me be real. I'm not just saying this, and I'm not talking about other companies. All I can tell you is that I'm so blessed that when I go to panels and I do my work on these code panels, I have never once, and Prismium's never done it either yet, never once been pressured to push an agenda. I cannot say that for all manufacturers, even though, again, we need manufacturers. That's what spawns technology. I have never been charged with, hey, try to get the code changed so our product gets used more. That type of thing. Never, ever. And I mean that. I swear on my life, on my family's life. And you're not supposed to do that. But I do. I have never. Our previous CEO, Daniel Jones, would never expect me to do that. And Andrea, our current CEO, or Massimo, our current CEO in Europe, would never. I've never been pressured to do that. Then they know that I have influence in these panels and that I could do stuff like that or try. Never ever have pushed me to do that. That says a lot. And I'm just saying. All right. So that's direct burial if it's marked as such. So that's the beautiful thing about being a tray cable hybrid, for example, like what we make at Encore and Prismium, is that hybrid has a direct burial marking, whereas normal SCR cannot go in the ground. It's above the ground product only. But a tray cable can go in the ground. So it's an easy transition, just magically transitions from SCR. Once it goes into the ground, now it's utilizing the tray cable listing. And when it comes out on the other side, it's back to SCR again. Beautiful thing, folks. All right, so there you go. You can use tray cable if it's direct buried, if it's marked as such. Number 11, hazardous locations were specifically permitted by other articles in the code. Obviously, 500, 501, 502, 503, that type of thing. You have some allowances. Number 12, I did submit this and we got it in the code. For service entrants were identified for such use in marked type TCER. Here's the funny part, folks. You ready? The only tray cable out there that is identified for such use would be my patent, because the SCR marking is on the tray cable. It's already on there. Nobody else can do that. It'd be a violation of our patent. Now, why we haven't capitalized on that, why we haven't marketed that all over the country, I am not into marketing. I don't do that. I don't have nothing to do with that. But to me, that is in the code. Did I get it that way? No. This was put in by a situation where it went in and said, do we want to be able to use it as service conductors? Yeah. But of course, you got to have the marking like SCR, SCU. You got to have the identification. It is for use as service entrance conductors. So the only one, technically, it's a byproduct. We didn't even know this was going to happen. But by creating the hybrid, you do create a TC cable that actually has service that can be used as service entrance. Why? Because it has SCR marked right on the side of it. Nobody else has that. It's incredible. It just happened like that. So anyway, cool stuff. All right. Use is not permitted. TC cable installed where it would be exposed to physical damage. That's other reason why it says it can be in a raceway unless you have to protect it. Okay. Now this is important. Look, it says installed outside of a raceway or cable tray system except as permitted in 336.10.4. Right here on a messenger. So what does that mean, folks? That means that TCER tray cable cannot be run like an SER. It can't be run on the wall. If it goes out and running outside, even if TCER is direct burial rated and it comes up out of the ground and runs down the side of the wall, that would be a violation because it cannot be installed outside of a raceway or outside of a cable tray system except on a messenger, right? Just saying. And then it says we're exposed to direct sun rays, could be in an open top cable tray, that type of thing. It has to be marked as that. So it'll have a UV marking on it, that type of thing. Okay. So again, important to understand this type of thing. That doesn't prohibit it from being direct buried, but it does prevent it to be used outside of a raceway or cable tray, except installed a messenger. So again, where can I install TCER? In a raceway, on a messenger, direct buried because it doesn't prohibit it, right? And obviously in a cable tray. Limited. Why? Why? All right, enough of that. It is what it is. It is what it is. We follow the code. All right, next, bending radiuses. Again, you've heard me talk about the different bending radiuses. You also have a requirement to maintain a bending radius is here as well. It says bends and tight TC cable shall be made so that not to damage the cable. Just don't bend it tight. And most of the times that's typically impossible to do. But again, be careful. For a tight TC cable without metal sheathing, okay, the minimum bending radius shall be as follows. So this is without metal sheathing, okay? Right? So, because we'll have a rule down here for metal sheathing. This is a normal non-metallic tray cable. Normal, everyday, buy off the shelf tray cable with insulated conductors inside of it and then an extruded sheathing on top of it, usually 60 mils or more, okay? So, minimum bending radius. Cannot bend tighter than this. 4 times the overall diameter of the cable. If it is 1 inch or less in diameter, that's the cable. Remember, folks, my golden rule. Y'all know my rule, right? My golden rule. I can already hear y'all saying it in your mind. Circumference of a circle, diameter of a cable across it or a circle is across, and then radius is from the center out. So basically, when we have a rule like this, it's like taking something that's the diameter, like a ball, and then the radius is wrapping the cable or bending the cable around the ball. Okay. So if it's a 2-inch radius, then it's going to be a 4-inch diameter ball. Get what I'm saying? Okay. You'll get it. And so you have to follow these rules to do that. So 4 times the OD, then it's 5 times the OD if the cable is larger than 1, but it's not more than 2. Okay. So from 1 to 2. And then 6 times the overall diameter of the cable is larger than 2. So we have 4 times for 1 and smaller. We have 5 times for 1 to 2. And then over 2. And sometimes people get this confusing, the wording. They think, well, it's 2. It's 6 times for 2. No, it's over 2. That it is 6 times. Now, TC cable with a metallic shielding, because you can get tray cable. Part of the construction in 1277 provides for you to have a metallic shielding over it. If that's the case, then it shall have a minimum bending radius of not less than 12 times the cable overall diameter. And that means that you're going to have a more gradual bend, because bending it any tighter than that could compromise the shielding and everything that's inside of this specially made TC cable with this metallic shielding. We don't want to damage it. Defeats the purpose, right? There's an overlapping requirement for shielding and all this kind of stuff. So we don't want to defeat the purpose. You'll know it when you buy the tray cable. You'll know which type you're buying. Chances are 99.9% of the time, you're going to buy just a standard non-metallic shielded, just a normal old tray cable. Okay. Ampacities. The ampacity of TC cable shall be determined in accordance with 392.80A. Remember, 392 is talking about cable trays. And so this product inherently goes in a cable tray. Of course, again, you see there's other applications, but inherently, when it's determined the ampacity, you're going to go to 392.80a, and it's going to give you directions when you may put this tray cable inside of a cable tray, depending on how you layer it, where you put it, spacing, all of that's going to affect the ampacity of this conductor. Now, that applies to 14 and larger conductors in accordance with 402.5 for 18 through 16. So you're going to follow the accordance with 392.80a for 14 and larger. If you're dealing with 18 through 16 conductors, you're going to use the ampacities in 402.5. It says we're installed, and in accordance with 310.10, we're installed outside of the cable trays where you're permitted. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, make this simple for everybody. I love making things as simple as possible. If you're going to use it in a cable tray, it depends. Remember, you're going to have to follow the rules of 392 for cable trays. So it's going to tell you how you place it, how you install it. There's a number of cables that are in 392.22. You follow the design. Engineer will do this or whoever. And once you have that design and how it can go in there, then you'll look at 392.80a to see what the ampacity. Most of the time, it's going to send you back to 310.16 or 310.17, depending on your install. That's your ampacity for 14 and larger. Okay. If you're going to be using smaller tray cables, then you want to use 402.5 for 18 through 16 gauge. That's where you're going to go there when you're installing them in a cable tray. That's where you're going to go to get the rules and different ampacity requirements. Any other application, direct burial, on a messenger, in a raceway, those type of things, you're going to use 310.14 like always, and ultimately it's going to send you and give you ampacity values that are going to be out of 310.16 for the most part for those applications because it's outside of a tray, that type of thing. It's pretty simple. They could have broken this down in bullets and maybe it would have made it simpler for people, but it's pretty simple to read. So I don't think it's not overly complicated. Okay. You have 3 different applications where you get to determine the ampacity, that type of thing. Construction requirements, same as thing. Construction, a metal sheathing or armor as defined in 330.316 shall not be permitted either under or over the non-metallic jacket. Okay. So this is for metallic sheathing or armor as defined in this. So again, this is just a application. It says the metallic sheathing shall be permitted over groups of conductors under the outer jacket or both. So it's just talking about a construction when we want to deal with something like a metallic shield or an armor. And you'll see again what it talks about it in 330.116. That is for MC cables, same type of armor, same type of construction. Okay. But it just says it shall not be permitted under or over the non-metallic jacket for that application. Right. Metallic shields shall be permitted over groups of conductors. So that's typically if a shielding would be wrapped on the interior, like a shielding around the actual, typically it's like a polyester aluminum shielding that can be wrapped around, that type of thing, that is okay. Under the outer jacket or both. Conductors. Now here's where it gets me all the time, right? And again, by the way, this is only if you want to run a metallic one. That's not your normal tray cable. That's only for that. Conductors. For ungrounded, grounded, and equipment grounded conductors, the conductor sizes shall be 14 to 1,000. Copper, nickel coated copper. I've never actually seen these. And 14 through 1,000 for aluminum or copper clad aluminum. Installation types shall be one of the types listed in table 310.41. Again, that is your lists. That is your THHN. That is your XHHW. That is all that type of insulation. The same stuff that we're going to put in SCR, by the way, or SCU. Same type of stuff. Okay. So it's or table 310.42. Okay. So you'll have a table with the different lists. It says that is suitable for branch circuit and feeder or one that is identified for such use. The control and signal conductors, the minimum conductor size shall be 18. So that's like an exam question. Like if you get something on an exam, what's the minimum size control and signal conductors for a tray cable? If you get that on an exam, there it is. 18 copper, all right, or 14 copper clad aluminum or 12 aluminum. Those are your sizes. And remember, it depends on the size of copper, depends on the material you're using. Now, where it's used as a fire alarm system, And they do make tray cables, the smaller sizes that meet the 1277 that can be used. It says were used for fire alarm system. Conductors shall also be in accordance with 760.49. So 760 we know is dealing with fire alarms. So if you want to use it for fire alarm, make sure it meets all the rules in 760.49. I very rarely ever see tray cable being used. I see instrumentation tray cable being used for that. If so, it still has to meet 760.49 to be used if you want to use it for fire alarm system. Thermocouple circuits, okay? A lot of times thermocoupling, taking temperature readings and things like that. It says conductors of type TC cable used for thermocouple circuits in accordance with part 3 of article 724, so they got that right, shall also be permitted to be any of the materials used for thermocouple extension wire. Okay, whatever is okay for thermocouple extension wire is going to be okay for this application as well. And typically standard insulation types will apply. Class 1 circuit conductors, insulated conductors of 18 through 16 shall also be in accordance with 724. You did get the number changed here. They didn't earlier, right? They didn't earlier, but they got it right now. 724.49. Okay, so you see where they made a little bit of an error earlier when they referenced 725, but that's okay. Ain't no big deal. Jackets. The outer jackets shall be flame retardant, just like SER, non-metallic material. There you go. That's so far you see it's not a whole lot of difference in SER, right? Markings. There shall be no voltage marking on type TC cable employing thermocouple extension wires. Okay, so I'm not going to put any voltage on that. That is specific to thermocouple wires, not specific to just your normal tray cable you buy every day. You still got to do the markings. You're required to have all the markings. 336.30 hazardous location cable. This is important right here. It says cables listed and marked as TCERHL, okay, shall comply with the following. The overall non-metallic jacket shall be suitable for the environment. It's a hazardous location. It's got to be suitable for that. I will tell you, most of the TC cables can handle a wide variety of environments because that PVC or that thermoplastic or thermal set is very resistant to corrosion. So usually that's not going to be an issue. It says the overall cable construction shall be essentially circular in cross section. Now, notice this word essentially. It's essentially a circle. So any deviation in that, you might get a piece and you're going to do it in a hazardous location and it doesn't look perfectly round. People question it, right? Because it needs to be perfectly round. No, it's essentially circular. So there can be some deviations. The manufacturers of the fittings that go on this, they know this. And from my understanding and talking to them, they say their fittings will accommodate various deviations in the roundness of a cable. But I know most people, most design people, most inspectors are looking for that circular type of thing. So when it says essentially circular, again, that leaves some, they could say shall be circular in diameter or whatever. And, so again, it leaves a little room there. But again, most of it's going to be circular. It's going to be fine. It says the overall non-metallic jacket shall be continuous and gas and vapor tight. Okay. Most of that type stuff with the tray cable is, but it still means you're going to have a seal off most of the time if you're in a hazardous locations built into the connector at the end. It says for construction greater than 1 inch in diameter. Okay, so this is for larger TC cables, TCERHLs. It says the equipment grounded conductor shall be bare. Okay, so it's got to be bare for larger. All right, and it says metallic shield shall be included over all conductors under the outer jacket. So if you're making it for use specifically in a hazardous classified locations, then the equipment grounded conductor needs to be bare if they're going to be larger than 1, and you have to have a metallic shield included over the conductors under the outer jacket. Okay, so just under the outer sheathing, have to have that. Okay, if you want to mark it as TCERHL. Okay, there are other applications where I can use TCER in locations and not necessarily have to have the HL marking, that type of thing. We'll cover that when we talk about certain applications in the code. And look here. So this here, folks, this is what we're looking at here is Fast Trax Tube. Here you see across the top. So when you come here, fasttraxtube.com, you want to watch us on Coffee Hour every day. You can just click right here. Here's Coffee Hour. And you'll see that it'll come up and it'll load. And that's what I'm doing right now. It'll be right here. See, it says live. And this is it right here. Okay. So that is, and you can share it right here. If you'd like to share the love with us here, spread the love, click on these and share it with everybody. Okay. But anyway, here's your home screen. Let me go back to the home screen. Now, random videos will just scroll across the front. The new videos will line up here in order and you can just scroll through the new videos. Our podcasts will be down here. You can scroll through them. That doesn't mean all of them will show up. It's just the ones that are featured, and we limited the number. Why do we limit the number? Because if you put too many, it causes the page to load slow and people get frustrated. Okay. Here, if you're an annual subscriber, then they'll come down here again and you can scroll through the annual. Some of the highest rated ones are already propagated down here that you can watch. Okay. So you see we have voltage drop, we have basic electrical math, we have residential bathroom basics, supply side bonding jumpers, armored cables, supply side and load side bonding, wiring a master bedroom, bunch of different, here you go, variable frequency drives, explained, single family dwelling, all this type of stuff, right? We even have some fire alarm stuff on here. Okay, grounding and bonding and stuff anyway, swimming pool series is all on here. So these are popular ones. But let me show you. Here is the live only. So if you're a member of Fast Trax Tube and we do a webinar and their exclusive webinar, then you would come here and you would click this. Now, if you're on a mobile device, you'd click this because it's geared towards mobile. So it re-optimizes it for mobile. But anyway, if I click this, now what you're going to see is that it just goes back to the main page. The reason for that is I'm not logged in, so I don't have access to it. So that's what you're saying. I'm clicking it, but it's not working. This is only for members, only for subscribers, and that's where we do the live only stuff. Member plan. When you hear me talking about member plan, you click on member plan, and that is where you can log in if you want, or you choose your plan. And when you win one for free, you choose the free membership plan. Pick your username, fill out information. This won't appear if you pick free. Okay, I'll show you. I'll pick free. And you see that disappears. And you get to join. And then once you join, you join. If you do the free plan, then you just email us and let us know. Or go to winner@fasttracksystem.com and let us know that you did it. And we will elevate you and give you your 12 months if you win it for free on the drawing. Okay. Now that's how that works. Now, videos. So under the video tab, you'll see all videos, which just will give you every video we've got. Or the new ones that are starting to load up is the interactive video. If I click on that, this is the one that asks you questions while you're watching the video. All right. And so this is one that does that. Okay. Podcasts. You can literally listen to every podcast right here, even the ones that aren't part of Fast Trax Tube. So for example, if I wanted to click on Master the NEC podcast, I can listen there. Sparky Mafia podcast, exclusive podcasts, which are just the ones that are on this website. But let's just click Master the NEC podcast, by the way. Here we have a player that's installed, and you can literally scroll through every podcast. You want to learn what it's about? You click on this little thing right here, and it'll bring up if there's anything on it. That one doesn't have anything that's talking about it because it must be pretty generic. But if I click there, you see that it'll pop up a description, tell you what's in the podcast, that type of thing. They're all right here. You click this little button and you can listen to it right here. Not even charging you for this. This is free. We're giving it to you. Okay. Now, exclusive podcasts, special ones, you click exclusive right here. And these are the ones that we're going to be loading exclusively that are only going to be members access. Those are coming up. We're going to have some podcasts that are only available to subscribers, right? And they're going to be in here, okay? But right now, you can listen to all of them you want right here. Just you can click all podcasts, and here it'll show you everything that we have, okay? All right. Series. This one's important. As we progress, folks, as we build out this and we create our own shows, our own networks, pulling things together, bringing on other people that want to have shows. Like, for example, if you want to have a show on our network, get with us, get with our team, get with Jeff or talk to Darlene, whoever you want, whatever you want to do, even talk to me. If you have a show you want to do and you want to promote it here, we have all the abilities to monetize it, do everything so that you can make money through it, all this kind of stuff. But we created this thing called series. And this is where we put things like coffee hour episodes. So it groups it in one nice, nifty location. This is unique to us. Okay. Now, I haven't even showed you the features. So please hang with me so that you can get a better understanding because I have to answer questions about this all the time. So over here, if you see where it says series, click on all series. There is the exam prep series. This is where you're going to see a lot more videos in the future that are exclusive for exam prep. Okay. They were not sharing them on YouTube right here. Also, where when we do more fast track system videos that are dedicated to specific lessons, they're going to be in here. Here you have coffee hour. That's what we're doing this morning. You have some of the recordings here from our Wednesday night sessions. Okay. Very popular, where you can be in and sit in and listen to our conversations back when we used to do the Wednesday nights. We have the Master of the NEC show. We have some changes for the NEC. We have single family dwellings, the whole process for the optional. Here is the complete swimming pool and spa series. Here, grounding and bonding series. It's 4 separate videos over, I can't remember how many hours this is on grounding and bonding, taking you through everything you need to know about grounding and bonding. And then, of course, we have standard method calculations. But let me give you an example. So coffee hour, you click on it. And here on the right, you will see episodes. And you got a scroller. There is a lot of episodes here. And all you do is you take it and you click on it. I'll just click on this episode right here. Okay. It'll tell you what the episode is. You can read it in here. It'll tell you what the episode is, what we're talking about on that episode. Okay. All right. Makes sense. But you see, you have to be a member. It's not for free. Okay. Sorry. I'm doing very little anymore for free, except for y'all do get me. Don't forget to rate it. And I would appreciate a good rating. There you go. Anyway, so here are all the episodes that you can watch them. Here, I'll click on this one. All right, there you go. There's an example there. You got to choose. When you choose payment plan, it's going to take you back here so you can choose what you want. Okay. All right, so there you go. So now let's kind of show you what a video looks like. So let's go back to the home. Oh, by the way, we do have blogs as well right here. So if you want to read some blogs, you click on that. And you got a couple blogs here that you can listen or watch. Okay. All right. So let's go back home. Okay. This is what I want to show you. Let's go to a video and I want to find a free video. So let me see if I can just search. So here's a search feature at the top. Okay. Here is what people say, how do I navigate? All right. So I'm just going to type in free and see what episodes comes up and see what it says. Okay. All right. So let's see here. So here, if it's subscribed, you'll see subscribe, but it's a way to fund. This is subscribe. So you look for the ones that are free. All right. So let's click here. All right. That's a podcast. So let me go back. Let's see here. So let's go to all videos, and I'll just do all videos. And what you're looking for is ones that don't have this little thing on here that says annual subscriber. All right, so I'll scroll down and see if we can find it. I've uploaded a lot lately. So let's go to the last one. Let's see what we get here. We don't do a whole lot for free, folks. I'm just telling you. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find a free one. You know, this is a paid platform. So everybody says, well, why don't you have more free? Well, go to YouTube if you want free. We don't do free here. We get paid for our education. I'm just saying. If you're in the fast track system and you're in the enhanced program, then you're getting it. It's included. Right? You're getting it. Let's see here. Let's see here. I want to show you an example, so I need to find a free one. We'll say, Paul, why don't you put them on? I can actually do that. I can add it so when you type free, all the free ones come up. I can actually do that if y'all think that's beneficial, but I can promise you there's not but a couple free ones. I can promise you that. Let's see here. Let me look. Let's see here. As you can see, we have tons of videos up here already. Okay, I'm looking for a free one. Still looking. Again, if you don't want to stay around, I get it. You can go somewhere else. You don't have to stay. Okay. The diehards will stay, you know. Let's see here. See, you got some other educators in here. We got some other stuff in here. Let's see here. Wow. Let's keep looking. Oh, I know there's a free one in here somewhere. Oh, here we go. So here's free. So this does say free. Oh, say free. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me click on this real quick. Okay, so here's your player, and it is very optimized. Now, sometimes you won't hear any audio. Hey, folks, Paul Abernathy here. So sometimes you won't hear any audio, and you'll have to click the speaker. It depends on what system, what one we're using to upload it. Okay. And some of the times it depends on the browser you're using, because some of the browsers that you're using will do videos differently, and they don't allow. They have a what's called a policy that doesn't allow audio to start on its own. So you'll have to click. You'll hear it, and you'll think, "Well, something's wrong, Paul. I'm not hearing any audio." It's because you got to turn the speaker on. You know, so that type of thing. So anyway, so this is this. Now here's what's neat. Okay, so here is where you can all these little features. You can give it a heart. You can give it look. I'm going to heart it. But here's some of the features. You can fast forward. You can go to the next video. You can do auto next. You can share it with other people. You got more over here where this right here is watch later. Add it to your watch later feature. Here, add to your playlist if you liked it. Okay, that type of thing. You can favorite it by picking the star. That type of thing. But one of the neat features here is this little light bulb. So if I'm on my device or something like that, and I'm looking at it from a desktop, and I can click this, and it will get rid of everything in the background. Okay, everything except for the video. If you want to speed forward, you have this little forward button here that'll push it forward 15 seconds. Okay, so it's a jump forward button right here. You want to go to full screen, you can click right here, go to full screen, that type of thing. Click play to start it. All right. Now, this is a little, turn that back on, that type of now. Now, you have all these features that run down the left side. This is where you would find all of your favorites. This is where you'd put notifications. Like, for example, if I click this, I've got to log in to see this feature, that type of thing. But you have all these abilities to be able to do this type of stuff right here. You can see which videos are trending. So you can see if there's anything new that's come out right here. You log in here. You can log in to hear your audibles, anything that you saved. So many freaking features here. All right. So I'm going to log in just so you can see some of the features. All right. I'm logged in. Right. And so over here, for example, if I click this heart. Hey folks, Paul Abernathy here. Oops. If I click this heart, it'll go to your profile. And if you have anything under here, subscriptions, it'll show it, right? So I'm here at the profile. My watch later list will be here. If somebody sends you a message, it'll be here under discussion. There's nothing here. There you go. I click discussion, and you can, I can leave a comment. I can post something for other people to read. I can see ratings. I click on ratings. You can see all the videos that you have rated. Okay. If you've given it 5 stars or whatnot, you can do your watch history right here. Anything that you marked for watch later, you can do it. So all of that's here. Trending. If I click trending, you can see which videos are trending. And it also shows you the user that's watching the most videos at any given time. Okay. So you can see that he's found certain videos in his playlist are very popular. And so, but here, trending, a lot of people like this calculations. It's 8 hours, by the way. So you can see what's trending. Play around with the features. You might be surprised what all you have here. Okay. And so that's just basically, and this is the big player, and this is just going to scroll random videos, that type of thing. Okay. And again, these are going to be new videos uploaded, so you can see what's brand new right away. But again, you can always go to the full list of videos right here. Now I'm going to go to the interactive video and show you that one real quick. So we're going to be doing more of these. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a lot more interactive videos. Okay. So watch this. So I'm going to go to this one. This was a pilot program that we did, and there's a point system. Okay. And you can see how you stack up, right? In the point system. Here's some of the folks that have taken it. There you go. Some of the folks, it's 40. Look at that. Some of the people nailed this thing. Quint, Jenny, boom, nailed this sucker. Okay, so what you'll see is it says start. You click start. And you'll see questions. What is today's lessons about? Well, hello.
What up, everybody? Paul Abernathy here.
Obviously, I've already done it, so that's why it recognizes me, right? So you'll get a choice to choose what it is. If I choose something other than that, okay, then it'll be that. So I always leave the one at the end so you can see how it works. So then you go to the
10 minutes.
and it'll jump to the next
All right.
portion of the video.
So today we're going to be talking.
Okay, I'll turn that off. I'll silence it. Okay. So it'll go through the video, and right after a certain portion of the video, it's going to ask you a question that you just learned, and you got to answer it right. Then you click down here.
Okay, so here's what the code says. So you're in a closed closet, and it says, all right,
then you pick your answer.
Closet storage space.
All right, so now I'm going to
out from the living area
towards the last one here.
Okay,
let me show you.
So we've got that bone force that we have to worry about. All right, so that's what we've got here. Right, we've got our 6 inches right here. And here's our surface. We've got our 12 inches. Here's our 6 inches right here for the fluorescent.
Off. Hold on.
And here's these fluorescent.
Sorry about that. Okay, so it also does it automatically, folks, as well. If you're watching the video, the question will pop up, and you need to answer the question. And then you just click the arrow and go on to the next question. This is the interactive. Play around with it. It works in different ways, but it's pretty cool how it works, right? It's interactive. And so let me give you another example here. So let's choose the wrong answer, okay? Well, this one, I did choose it on another video, which showed that was incorrect, okay? So again, watch it, and you can see the ranking. And there you go. Jonathan only got a 10. Come on, Jonathan. What's up? It didn't look like you stayed in there very long. So if I click on Jonathan, we can go look at Jonathan's profile, right? And see if there's anything that Jonathan's in his profile, any history, any discussions, any ratings. So Jonathan's not done any ratings, but Jonathan is in there. So that's good. All right, but you can see how you stack up if you want. Let's see, I missed that last one because I was doing a video and I was showing you what happens when it did it wrong. And you see here, I got a 35. So, womp, womp, womp. I'm not a leader. Okay, here's your leaders. So we want to do more of this. And we're going to create a gamification system. So we're working more with that stuff in the future. And I think people are going to like that, because what that means is we can create different things and y'all can compete. And you can see what your scores are. That type of scenario, okay? Now, one of the reasons why it doesn't let you do the rating again is because that would taint the results, right? So, for example, I can't redo it again and get 100% because it remembers me, and I've already done it already. So it wouldn't be fair, and it would taint the contest if I was able to go back and do it again and get 100%. Nope. So that's why you be careful. That's important, because somebody says, well, I want to take it again. Well, you can. You can watch this video as many times as you want, but can you compete multiple times? Absolutely not. That would be unfair. Okay. That's unfair. Okay. So I'm forever stuck at 35 out of 40 because, I was using it as an example in a video, and it is what it is. But anyway, here you can see it. And you can see the standing. I think it's going to be neat for us to do this. And I think this just encourages participation. And I don't know any other program that does that, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. YouTube doesn't do that. YouTube doesn't create a system that encourages you, and you get to see your feedback. I don't want to have to retake this again and again and again until I keep getting hundreds. That would taint the score. You get me? This means, so yes, Jonathan, when you were just sampling it, you're stuck. Sorry, can't change that, and I will not change that. So, people, you have to go through it in order to do it.
Anyway, so there you go. So that's a neat feature. Okay. Pretty cool, right? So no, Jonathan, you can't ace it anymore because you can't, Now, if you got it right and you just stopped, then you get to go in and you can pick up where you left off. But if you got it wrong, it's going to forever remember you got it wrong. And just like mine, I can't go in and change it, that type of thing. At least I don't know that I can. And I don't know that I want to do that. People can sample stuff all the time. I don't care. But I don't want people going in and testing it and then putting in wrong answers and then coming back and then saying, ooh, I aced it. No, I want you focused. If you're going to enter a quiz, I want you to watch the video to get it right. Otherwise, stop watching it. If maybe you got 2 right and the third one you're like, Dean, I don't know the answer to that. Stop. Go back and watch it again before you answer it. That's what it was designed to do. People tell us they want more of these. So we're going to try to do way more of these. Okay. So that type of thing. So anyway, there you go, folks. Hopefully you got something out of that. It was a longer video again than normal, hour and 44 minutes, but y'all have come to expect that. Hopefully you get something out of it. Fast Trax Tube to me. And guess what? We are going to, you guessed it, we are going to create interactive exam prep. So you can watch a video and get the questions asked you while you're watching the video during exam prep. Is that going to blow your freaking mind? Because there is absolutely nobody on the industry that's doing that. So in the future, when you get exam prep courses, you get the enhanced, you get to come over here. Any of the exam prep stuff that's dedicated that works alongside the Fast Trax program is going to have questions built into it so that you can interact with the lesson that keeps you sharp, that keeps you engaged. We're going to do that. I think it's going to be awesome. All right. All right, folks, we're always trying. So when you ask yourself, when you invest in our program, you subscribe to Fast Trax Tube, you join us every day, you support us on all our platforms. Remember, I'm not saying this to be, we at Electrical Code Academy are 100%. Yes, we got to sell courses. I got to make money. We're a business. But I swear, I believe that we give more than we get. I honestly go to sleep at night thinking that when I created this corporation years ago, I did it for a reason. I wanted to make courses affordable. And if you don't think $375 for an enhanced is affordable with all the crap that you get, come on now. Come on. Be honest with yourself. You go out and have a meal with the family, it's over $100. I'm giving you something that doesn't expire. I'm giving you 800 exam questions plus. I'm giving you competency exam questions. If you go with the enhanced program, you're getting Fast Trax Tube. You're being able to ask your questions inside the program and get it answered by an expert, not just buying a DVD and not being able to talk to the authors. You're getting me. I'm dedicated to you. I know I got my haters, but tell me one person, please. I'm willing. Tell me one person that gives the electrical industry as much education that I do, whether it's videos, podcasts, training, morning shows, videos, interactive courses. I'm not saying it to toot my horn. I'm saying it because we have built something I'm very proud of. I'm immensely proud of what we've done here at Electrical Code Academy. And we work on a shoestring, I can tell you right now. So thank you all for taking the time and watching. Those that hung in here and didn't jump off. I know who the loyal folks are. I know who you are. I appreciate you. Go play around on Fast Trax Tube. Not a lot of free stuff. I get it. But go play around on it. Get a subscription. If you're in the Fast Trax program and you're in the enhanced, do me a favor. Check it out. Look at it. Comment. Give 10 stars. Support the videos. You can comment on videos. Interact with other people. You can go look at their profiles. You can have discussions in their profiles. You can say, hey, what's up? Create your playlists. Do everything you can. All right. I appreciate you folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. We'll catch you on the next episode of Coffee Hour, which is tomorrow, which we're probably going to be doing service entrance cable. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.